So you're a government employee and you want to resign, or maybe you are stuck deciding whether to retire or resign. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you had a crystal ball and you could look into the future to see that you plan the perfect resignation? Wouldn't that be amazing? Now, earlier this week, a member had reached out to me saying that I had met with her so often in the beginning and I didn't meet with her over the last 6 months, right? This is how the conversation went, in fact, right? My phone rang and I said, and she says to me, "Hi, Dhevan, it's Amy." And I said, "Hi, Amy." So she says, "Dhevan, I'm really concerned. When I was resigning, you were meeting with me all the time, and now I haven't met with you for the last 6 months." And I said to her, "Amy, are you getting your monthly statements?" And she says, "Yes." And then I said to her, "Amy, is your money growing?" She says, "Yes." And then I asked her, "Is it growing every single month?" And she says, "Yes, it is growing every single month." So I said to her, "Okay, Amy, what is concerning you?" And she said to me, "I don't know. Shouldn't we be meeting more regularly? Shouldn't we be making adjustments, reviewing the plans?" Now, I'm Dhevan Naicker, a certified financial planner and the go-to guy for government employees wanting to plan the perfect resignation. Now, in this particular video, let me tell you, before we get started, that I absolutely love working with Amy because she follows my planning to the T. And if she doesn't understand anything and she has any concerns, she reaches out to my team or she sends me a WhatsApp, right? We connect. Now, Amy has, in my opinion, what I believe to be the perfect resignation plan. She has no debts, she pays no tax, she earns enough money to live comfortably, her capital is growing, and she has enough saved in the bank for holidays and for having fun, right? Now, want to know what her secret is? Stay tuned, because in this video, I'm going to reveal 5 secrets to Amy's success and how you would know if your resignation is planned perfectly, right? How to plan the perfect resignation. And the key here is you can know this even before you stop working. So you don't really have to leave and then determine whether this is working well. So let's get started. The first thing that I want to share with you here is don't keep changing. Don't keep changing. And it was hard for Amy to get this in the beginning because of her experience in the past, right? And I don't blame her. Now keep in mind, in the beginning, let's say I'm doing the planning for you, I need to make sure that I'm offering you the best, right? I need to do the planning very thoroughly. And let's take me out the picture. Let's use a different example so that you understand the point that I want to illustrate, right? Let's say, for example, and we won't use you in this example because we want to keep your health well, right? Let's say one of your colleagues, right, had a heart problem. We'll say heart attack, right? And you head over to the cardiologist, and the cardiologist does heart surgery, right? Now imagine the cardiologist has already completed the operation. 6 months later, is the cardiologist going to open you up again to determine, or your colleague up again to determine, hey, how is everything doing inside here? Is it working well? Let me review what's inside your body. It doesn't make sense, isn't it? What about a year down the line? Is the cardiologist going to open you up to say, hey, is everything working well here? Is it going good? It doesn't make sense, you see? And the same should apply when it comes to financial planning. See, when the work is done properly in the beginning, just like the cardiologist is going to plan before even opening you up or your colleague up. The cardiologist is going to have a look to see and do his work in advance. Plan the procedure carefully, hopefully, right? Because otherwise that's going to be detrimental. But plan everything carefully. Make sure that it's going to work according to, to what is required. Understanding exactly what is needed, what are the arteries they're going to work with, things like that. So because the cardiologist is planning ahead of time, there's no need to keep cutting you up and checking to see what's happening. It doesn't make sense, right? So the same here when it comes to the financial planning side, right? Identical plan. You want to make sure that your foundation in the beginning is strong. So in Amy's case, we did extensive planning, right? I'll share with you shortly all of the planning that took place. But extensive planning, why? Because I don't like to chop and change. Think about it. If I get my work done properly in the beginning, if I'm making sure that your tax planning is done correctly, if I'm making sure your money is invested securely, if I'm making sure I'm catering for legacy planning, or anything that you feel is important for you, if I'm doing it properly in the beginning, do I really need to go and change the plan at a later stage? Unless your circumstances change, right? But if nothing changes and we can see money growing like what was Amy's experience, why change? If it's not broken, why fix it? So the same system that I want to share with you, right? And this is how you would know there's a problem with the resignation. If you can see that in the beginning, there's a lot of changes happening, constantly changing the plan, right? Changing the fund. Then it means that the correct information was not done in the beginning, right? The correct planning wasn't done, and this is how it can impact you at a later stage. Let's head over onto the second part, which is tax planning. Now, tax planning needs to be done in advance, and it must be done extensively. In Amy's case, this was done in multiple areas, right? We had done the following: basic tax planning, and basic tax planning that I'll share with you each one, advanced tax planning and expert tax planning, right? So basic tax planning, I am looking on Amy's side. When money is moving over into the approved fund, how do we ensure that we're not going to pay any tax, right? That's like basic tax planning that needs to go in there. More advanced tax planning, I would look at, what about the pre-98, right? How do I calculate that? How do I get the exact figure for her so that we pay zero tax on the 1/3 that she wants to access? And more expert planning could be on a estate planning perspective. Right? This is beyond retirement and resignation, right? Beyond the resignation. Looking at her entire portfolio, touch wood, should anything happen to her, how much of taxes are going to be paid? And how can we ensure that we keep that to its absolute bare minimum? Now, I'm just skimming the surface here because tax planning is pretty intricate. If you have a look at the tax guide, it's quite intense, isn't it? There are multiple ways in which SARS can tax us, and you want to make sure that when your planning is getting done, you're looking at all the a variety of angles. And this is why I'm sharing with you that planning needs to be done on a basic level, advanced, as well as an expert level, right? And you don't need to know all of this. You just need to know that the planner that you're working with knows and understands it. Now, the next one is to create what I call the perfect investment strategy. The perfect investment strategy. Now, the key here is, this is important, so pay attention. It must be done before you invest. Right? Why is that? Well, you definitely don't want to have happen. We know the situation with markets. It ebbs and flows, right? Now, what if in the beginning, you put your money in and you're investing here, and within the first month there's a market crash or something like COVID, and then there's a huge dip in the market? How would you feel about it, right? If you lost a huge fortune, say 100,000 or 200,000, it could be huge, right? Depending on the percentage and the amount of capital that you have. Not a good experience, you agree? So before you put money into the investment, you want to analyze that investment carefully, right? And create what I call the perfect investment strategy. And to do this, there are many factors to be taken into account, including where the money gets invested, the income you're taking, what are the costs, the fees and charges, multiple elements in order to get this thing right. But once you understand this, the perfect investment strategy, this then puts you in a position where capital can start to grow, which is exactly where you're aiming for, right? You want to put yourself in a position where you're never running out of money. And you don't want to start off with a resignation in the beginning with a loss. With proper planning ahead of time, no need for you to do this because you can create the perfect investment strategy right from the beginning. Then you want to secure an income for life. Now, what does this mean? Now, this is going to be a bit of a twist here because usually, and I see this from members, they like to plan for a long term, right? So they would say to me, hey, Dhevan, I want to make sure I never run out. I want to have money for the next 30 years. I want to have money for the next 40 years, right? I want to have money that goes over to my kids, okay? And this is where a slight difference in thinking, okay? There's different ways in which you can structure the planning. In Amy's case, based on what she wanted, her goal was to have more control. And the best way to get control is to have a lot of flexibility. So in Amy's case, we created a solution where she could change her income every 12 months. Now, behind the scenes, when I'm not with Amy, I'm obviously creating a plan because I want to make sure she never runs out. You agree? So say I'm planning for you, behind the scenes, I'm doing planning for 30 years, I'm planning for 40 years, right? I want to make sure you never run out. But when I'm connecting with you, because we don't know what's going to happen 10 years down the line, even 2 years from now, we don't know, right? Even a month from now, we don't know. I just want to plan for the next 12 months because you can come back and change the income. So rather than focusing on a very, very long term, when I'm connecting with you, I'm focusing only over the next 12 months. What's your expense looking like over the next 12? What's the income we need over the next 12 months, right? And this is quite a key phase because while we're focusing over the next 12 months, and you love the secret I'm going to share with you next, right? It buys me time to then focus on a longer term planning. So I'm creating something in place that satisfies you, makes you happy in the beginning with the planning, like how Amy is, and we're doing the updates, right? But I'm also keeping in mind in the long term, we must generate enough return from the perfect investment strategy in order to ensure that we're growing capital and she's really not running out of money, right? So how this would work is we would focus on income over the 12 months because it's flexible. You can always change your income at the end of the 12-month period, and you can change it every single year, again, depending on which option that you had worked with. Very different here because you don't want to have something that is fixed, it's cast in stone, and then you don't have any control over your money, right? I mean, probably one of the reasons for you resigning is to gain control of the money. Let's then look at the next step, which I believe is crucially important, and it ties everything together perfectly well. Monthly updates. Monthly updates. Now, I know this is going to sound crazy to you, right? Especially if maybe you only get a review one time in a year, or maybe you're not even getting any updates on your investments, right? So getting a review one time in a year would be good. I like monthly updates because you want to have a look at what's happening with the investments every single month, right? That means January all the way through to December. Imagine if you got a statement and you could see your money is growing, right? So in January, your money is at a certain value. In February, your money is higher. In March, your money is more than Feb. In April, your money is more than March, right? In May, it's more than April. So notice, if you can see your money is growing, then wouldn't you say that's the perfect investment strategy? Because money is growing, right? Unless you are taking too high an income, in which case you're going to end up paying too much in tax. That could put pressure on the capital. But again, when you structure everything carefully with the pre-planning and you manage money well, and you do it like how Amy has done it, because she's followed the guidance that I shared with her, right? She followed the plan to the T as I shared with you in the beginning. This is how getting something like this can make a lot of sense, right? You can have the review scheduled every single month, get updates done. Doesn't that put you in more control? When you have updates done on a regular basis, it gives you transparency because it shows you, hey, there's nothing to hide. If your investment's not performing well, you get to see it straight away. It also shows you, pardon me, from a trust perspective, that you can trust me because now I'm openly sharing with you your information. I'm not waiting for the end of a 12-month period to give you an update. I'm showing, hey, you can trust the advice, especially if you've been following the guidance and you walk in the journey with me. So in Amy's case, it was very uncomfortable because her previous experience was constant changing. Here, when we started to have a look at it, backed by the monthly updates, if we could see that her money is growing, and I have in my mind a long-term strategy for 10, 20, 30 years down the line, and we could see money is growing, no need to change, provided she's getting monthly updates. Monthly updates, again, if something's not right, trust me, Amy would reach out to me, right? So imagine for yourself, if you could see your money is dipping, wouldn't you reach out to me and say, hey, Dhevan, my money is reducing, what's happening, right? Exactly. So this is the power of having regular updates. Now that's it. In order to ensure that you are planning the perfect resignation, quick recap on the 5 steps for you. Step number 1, do not keep changing your plans. Your planning must be done thoroughly and properly in the beginning in order to ensure that you don't keep changing, right? You'll know it's not right if it's constantly being changed at a later stage. Step 2, make sure that you are doing tax planning, but don't just do it on a surface level. You want amazing results, won't you? So make sure that you're doing basic, advanced, and expert tax planning. Then you want to create what I call the perfect investment strategy, right? Not just focusing on a tax perspective, but what if we can actually grow this money in a safe, secure way? So you want to make sure that you're doing that. Then you want to secure an income for life. Know that you have enough to live comfortably. Keep in mind that you don't have to plan for a long period. We don't know what life has in store. You can, if you plan it properly, you can plan over a 12-month period because you can adjust your income, and then back this up by monthly updates. When you get monthly updates, you're in full control. You get to see immediately if something's not right, and you can act on it at that same moment. So again, if the video has been helpful for you, comment below. Tell me which of the 5 points that I shared with you today has been most impactful for you. Comment below. And if you found something else that I didn't address here, please share below. So I'll look into doing a YouTube video around that as well, perhaps in the future. If you're new to the channel, or if you haven't subscribed already, click the subscribe button so we're able to produce this content for more and more members. And remember, again, give me the thumbs up sign if you found the video helpful. I will catch you in the next video.